Welcome to CRUX Investor. We're here today with Nikolaos. He's the CEO of Blue Sky Uranium. They have an operation down in Argentina. Good morning, I guess, Nico. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Thanks for making the time to be with us. Let's go through a summary of the projects so we get a sort of sense of what they're like. I've been through it, so maybe if I may ask some questions as we go along, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
We have not just a deposit of uranium vanadium, but we have an entire district.
Yep.
And that's really where the upside is. And this district spans 145 kilometers in length, over 50 kilometers wide. So again, speaks volumes to the undiscovered potential that lies within a country like Argentina. And recently, just about a year ago, we announced our first deposit, 43101 deposit, and our PEA was announced about a month ago. So what we have is just under 23 million pounds of uranium, 11 million pounds of vanadium, and that's all within a 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer area. And again, this has the potential to expand, to grow, to become amongst the largest deposits of uranium in the world. And what's key here is the way that this deposit lies. It lies right up on surface. It's within the first 25 meters from surface down. And it's also not in hard rock. It's sort of a compressed gravel. So it means in terms of cost, this is very cheap to extract and to separate. And in fact, our PEA, our preliminary economic assessment, indicates that we can produce this at $16 a pound, which ranks us amongst the lowest cost producers in the world, like those we see in Kazakhstan. And we've only started scratching on the surface. We wanted first to prove two things in this. One, that we can be amongst the lowest cost in the world, and the second point, to be amongst the largest. So I think we've been able to demonstrate now that we are amongst the lowest cost. And we're about to embark now on an exploration campaign that can demonstrate that this 23 million pound deposit can grow, you know, twofold, threefold, fourfold, can be over 100 million pounds.
So let's say even if we have a kind of plus or minus 30% on a PEA, it's fairly industry standard, that's still pretty low. I should say as low as the Kazakh number. It's still not quite economic at today's prices, so you need some help there with the pricing.
Well, it's break even at today's spot prices, around $30. But you know, when there is when you have a production, you don't sell at spot. Most of the contract prices are at $50 or $60.
And you're selling this into the Argentine market?
Well, the Argentine market is a very interesting market because Argentina, unlike other countries in Latin America, actually has a nuclear regime. Since they've been active since the 50s, they've got 3 nuclear reactors that they've got going right now, and they import all the uranium for that. They have a number of research reactors, and they control every aspect of the nuclear industry except for production. So they currently have to import all their uranium, and they're paying between $75 and $85 a pound for that.
Why?
Because that's you have to remember that nuclear reactors, the cost of uranium is actually quite negligible to the cost of actually shutting down a reactor and keeping it on care and maintenance. So to have a surety of that import, of that price, they will pay a higher price because it becomes quite negligible. And because also that they ship it, they're probably paying $10 to $15 in shipping costs per every pound of uranium. So Argentina right now is very much encouraging, would like to have a domestic source of uranium. And we've been talking to them. They know very aware of who we are and what we have. They're very keen that we are the largest and most advanced deposit in Argentina. And we have a lot of support to become the next supplier for that country.
But it's obviously relatively small. We're talking about 3 nuclear plants, another one under construction. Yeah. We're not talking a massive amount of.
No,
volume?
they would probably, right now they import about 500,000 pounds a year. Probably in the next couple of years, that'll probably be up to about 1 million. They likely would stockpile some uranium. So the way the law is written is that Argentina has first right to acquire any uranium that's produced at international market prices. So there wouldn't be anything special. So that would be our first supplier, and then anything left over, of course, would be for export market. And what's the other thing that's interesting that we have within our uranium deposit is we have the occurrence of vanadium. And vanadium is of late, for those attuned to the mining metals markets, would know that, you know, we've seen the price of vanadium for the last few years being $3-4 a pound, and now it's trading about $15 a pound. So there's a big demand for that. And again, you know, it's a battery metal, just like lithium. It's used for storage, but that's not the main driver. The main driver, of course, for vanadium is its use as a steel hardener. And China's recently, you know, have mandated an increase in the amount of vanadium in steel production, and that's brought up and it's just currently sustaining the higher price of vanadium. Now, Argentina has also a huge need for vanadium, because they have an active oil and gas industry in southern Argentina, and they're constantly manufacturing pipelines. And these pipelines require vanadium to make them hard. So there would be another market there for that metal as well.
And what, obviously the vanadium market, the pricing is erratic to say the least. Does the PEA include the vanadium component, or is that just focused on the uranium?
No, it's inclusive of the vanadium component.
Right. And tell me about, when you say significant, what do you mean?
Well, the vanadium contributes, you know, quite a bit to help offset some of the costs and to make, for every pound of rock that we extract, to make it that much more valuable. And it's no additional cost for us to extract it. The metallurgical process involves just scooping up the gravel, putting it through a sieve, removing the larger rocks because the mineralization is in the dust. And then basically we were able to reduce that by get rid of 75–80% of the waste rock, which is clean. And then we put the rest of it on a leach pad, and a simple alkaline solution, which is cheap and well proven throughout the world, extracts both the vanadium and the uranium. So it's a very simple, low cost way to get it out. And as we expand our deposit, we're going to see all our costs begin to come down.
Fantastic. So I'm hearing Argentina is a very friendly jurisdiction in terms of not only mining, you know, now, but also with regards to uranium, it's seen as possibly a strategic resource for them.
Yes, I mean, we have been active in Argentina, like I said at the outset, for 26 years now. So I guess we can call ourselves experts in operating in that country. And, you know, no matter what country you operate in, when you're a foreigner, it takes a while. You have to acquire and understand the local needs, the local misgivings, and so forth, and develop your contacts and people that go to both within the industry, government. And we've always recognized that, and we've been very successful at establishing being good guests, so to speak, in a country like Argentina. So Argentina right now has a government run by Mauricio Macri, a businessman. He's very pro-business. They very much want to see the development of the mining industry a lot further than it has come. They want to see it as a larger component of you know, contributing to their economy. We have approached us. They have indicated that if there's any roadblocks or red tape that's in the way, let them know. They're going to do whatever they can to facilitate it. We'd like working in Argentina. It's a safe country in which to work with. It's abundant with natural resources, and with respect to the uranium that we have, because they have the entire framework for dealing with nuclear materials and so forth, it makes it that much easier. They already understand the language, they understand the fears, they're members of all the international agreements. So it's just much more fluid and much easier for us in which to operate.
Tell me a little bit about this board that you're working with.
The management team has 3 members on the board: myself, Joe Grosso, one of the early pioneers of Argentina. He's been recognized and awarded in Argentina as you know, one of in the Mining Hall of Fame. one of the key persons to open up mining in Argentina. We, with our successes and with our method of operating in terms of being able to deal effectively and with respect to not just the levels of government, but at the community level. That's been our modus operandi for some time. The other person on our board is Dr. David Terry, who's a PhD geologist. Again, he has an extensive experience in a number of industries, including uranium. And most recently joining our team as Vice President of Exploration has been Guillermo Pensado. Guillermo Pensado has been very key to help us advance and crystallize the discovery that we have in the uranium.
Yeah.
He's Argentinian, has a long track record of mining in specializing uranium in Argentina, which is not an easy thing to find. And he has a master's degree from Queen's University in Toronto, so in economic geology. So he's been able to bring this project together. And just last September, he was awarded as Explorationist of the Year in Argentina. So we have a top tier working for us. Also working with us is Chuck Edwards. As our technical advisor. Chuck works at the Saskatchewan Research Council. He's a process engineer and a metallurgist, and he's been a consultant with the International Atomic Energy Agency, and just in the uranium world, he's very well known. I think there's hardly any uranium mine that doesn't have his fingerprints on process engineering and metallurgy. So we're very proud to be working with him. And of course, another local in Argentina is Jorge Berizo, who's retired from the Argentine Atomic Energy, and he headed exploration in Argentina, and he was and still is very instrumental in being able to point us in the right direction there. So we truly have a very solid award-winning team, and any company is really the product of its people.
So you're based in Vancouver?
But
But working in Argentina for the last 25 odd years?
Yes.
And do you sit on any other boards, or is this your core focus?
I sit on this board, and we have another company called Golden Arrow, which is a Grosso Group managed company, and I sit on that board. That's it. And then we have a lithium company also in Argentina, and I sit on that board.
Right.
No, we manage our own shops.
Report card for 2018. What's it look like for Blue Sky Uranium?
18 was the year that we announced our maiden resource. At that time was just under 20 million pounds, and also was the year that we completed all our studies for the PEA. That got announced actually in late February of 2019. So that was truly a big landmark, because I think we were able to demonstrate to the uranium world that, hey, here's a deposit in southern Argentina that's amongst the lowest cost. It's very similar to what they have in Africa, like at Langer Heinrich, or in Kazakhstan, the Inkai deposit. And so that's been a really a landmark year for us. But going forward, if I can add,
sure,
what we're planning in the next 6 months, we plan now to invest in exploration. Exploration is relatively cheap. So the next $2 or $3 million worth of exploration, we hope to grow our deposit from 23 million pounds to wherever it may be. We're thinking, it has the potential to double and triple. And then by the end of the fourth quarter of this year, we're planning to begin our engineering studies and feasibility studies to begin to take our project towards production.
Fantastic. Okay. And what did the PEA announcement do for your share price?
The PEA announcement did have an effect on our share price. It, we were able to raise, from sub 15 cents to about close to 20. So, it hasn't been a huge move. The price of uranium, although we're seeing that, in the market, last year has made a move of almost 50%, has had a bit of a pullback in the first quarter, and I think that's what we're sailing against the wind here. Right. But we're going to see the price of uranium continue to pick up going forward, and I think we're good. The projects that are near at production or very near production are going to be those that are going to get the biggest lift. And I think Blue Sky is very well positioned for that. In the last uranium bull market, I think one of the worst producing uranium companies had over 2,000% appreciation. So uranium can be a very, very profitable way to make.
Okay, so let's talk about the uranium market a bit.
Sure.
In your PowerPoint, page 5, you think you quote a number of $65. It doesn't say when. I think are you going to stick your neck out and make a forecast in terms of when you think that'll happen?
Well, I'm not a forecaster. There are others much smarter than me that are that read all those, all the details that are involved in that. But I read what they write and see what's happening in the current uranium market. And I think we're going to see a uranium price, maybe not $65 this year, but I think once it crosses north between $30 and $35, I think there's going to be a real rush to invest in uranium companies. And I think that's going to happen sometime this year.
Well, I suspect the rush will be to companies that are producing at levels which allow them to be economic at 30, 35, because not everyone
That's right. And there isn't that many. Most companies, I think in Canada and Athabasca, require a $60 price, $65 price. At that price, we would be making a very handsome profit. So we know that, if we were in production today and we had an agreement with Argentina, we would be making money today. At current prices, we're probably at best at worth break even.
Right. So just help me out and help some of the viewers out here, perhaps a little bit newer to this than you. Give us a sort of potted history. It's been a very sort of turbulent last 10, 15 years, obviously with various events. Can you just sort of describe the uranium market, from then to where it is today?
Sure. I mean, we've seen the uranium market reach about a decade ago was trading at about $135 a pound. And then in 2011, there was an earthquake and a tsunami in Japan, which knocked out the Fukushima old nuclear power plant. And since then, and what that had the effect in Japan, it caused them to shut down all their reactors in the entire country so that they could examine the safety issues associated with each one, so they don't have another such type of disaster. So the effect since 2011 to now has been that the uranium market has been depressed because the market has been in oversupply. But we're seeing a lot of an acceleration right now in a number of Japanese reactors coming back onto the market. So the supply is coming has been used up quite a bit, and we're also seeing in China and India being the main drivers for nuclear reactors being built. I think there's over 43 nuclear reactors being built just in China. But beyond that, even in most emerging countries, it's becoming very well recognized that nuclear reactors are the best bet for creating sustainable, secure, and safe supplies of energy. It's a very efficient way in how to produce electricity. So we're seeing that in countries like, even in oil-producing countries like Emirates and in Saudi Arabia. So I truly believe, and in Argentina is another one too. So I truly believe that the price of uranium is going to continue to rise. I think we're going to see over 30, 35 by the end of this year, and then next year there's going to be a scramble at some point for the new nuclear for nuclear reactor utilities to acquire steady supplies of uranium contracts. And at that point, like you said, those that are either at production or very near production are those that are going to benefit the most from it. And Blue Sky, we're getting very close to that stage right now.
Yes, the Japanese market came offline after Fukushima. There was an oversupply in the marketplace. Japan coming back online. So it wasn't really a conception issue or a reputational issue around nuclear per se. It was just an oversupply in the market that has affected price, in your opinion.
That's right. It was because the supply became oversupplied because the demand shut down.
Right.
Japan shut down, and then Germany shut down. but we're seeing new openings now. In fact, just last week, I think even in the United States, there was an affirmation by the current government that they'd like to see nuclear play a larger role in the U.S. and to bring that role back to a leadership role to where it used to be. So we're seeing that if you want to produce a carbon-free energy right now, new wind and solar aren't quite there in the efficiencies quite yet. There's probably quite a few years away if they're ever going to get there. But nuclear is definitely there, and also the cost of nuclear building and operating nuclear reactors has come down substantially. And they're becoming much more viable alternatives for countries to create electricity.
But that said, you've still got people who are campaigning and going, "Oh, there's what do we do with nuclear waste, etc." You know, how do you counter those sorts of people?
Well, I mean, there's waste produced in everything. Coal produces a byproduct of waste. There are companies that deal with that. Oil and gas produces waste. There are companies that deal with that. Nuclear industry produces waste, and there are new improving technologies to reduce the size of a lot of waste. They are recycling a lot of the radioactive elements and using them back into as inputs in the nuclear reactors. There are ways to deal with that and treat with waste that are safe and secure. I think nuclear energy is going to be playing a much bigger role in our global electricity generation in the future.
Okay, so you obviously got a lot planned for this year. A few big deliverables coming. You've delivered a couple of things, obviously, with the resource and the PEA. Got a few bit more exploration to do, and then your fourth quarter activity. Do you hope that each of those things will have an effect on your share price, a positive effect on your share price, or do you think ultimately it's going to come down to the price of the commodity, the price of uranium in the marketplace?
Well, yeah, the price of the commodity is going to be important, but I think as we move forward here, we demonstrate that I want to prove that this deposit can grow substantially. I think when we begin our engineering studies and actually go into production at that point, irrespective of the price of the commodity is, even if the commodity is at $30, $35, but if we have a contract and we're producing uranium and selling it at $50 or $60 or $70, we're going to be priced by the earnings that we have at that point. So, and I think that point will come very, very soon and very quick. So all I know is, yes, the environment for the uranium price is going to be improving over the short term, over the near term, but more importantly, I can't control that. What I can control is what we do with the company, and I think we're stepping the company in the right direction and definitely creating good value for shareholders.
And have you got enough cash to deliver that activity this year?
No, we're going to have to raise funds to embark on our exploration. They'll take us down to the third quarter, and then at that point, we'll be raising additional funds for our engineering studies.
And so the timing of that is what, Q3, Q4?
Q4 for engineering, yes.
Right, and the fundraise itself sometime before that, I guess.
It's sometime probably in the next month or so.
Next month or so, and have you let the market know what sort of quantum you're looking for? You're going to be raising?
No, I mean we're still putting together our budgets now, but our estimates are between $2 and $3 million Canadian.
Okay,
so it's not a substantial amount of funds.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not substantial, and obviously, I mean, the board you're significant holders between you. You hold a big chunk of this.
Yes, we do. We own between the board members, insiders, our families, and close friends. We've got about 65% of the company, and which is really substantial because we've been funding this through a period where a lot of investors have been shunning uranium. And we completely believe in what we're doing. We wanted to move this along, so the biggest source of funds has been ourselves, and we've been very good at that. I think we've brought it up to a very good point. I think we're continuing to be investors and going forward. We think we're on to something truly world-class here, a new uranium district. This is important not just to Argentina, but I think in the global nuclear world, what we have is going to be important and substantial. And I think people are beginning to listen, and I'm beginning to see a lot more interest from various investors at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're obviously after the right things. You want the size of the resource, and it's a district-wide resource. So it's that's what hopefully a world-class asset. I mean, to fund that going forward, that's always going to be the difficult bit in terms of constantly being on the road to, raise capital, and hopefully not in a too dilutive manner. Who's the team on board who does the hunting of the cash?
It's all been internal. We have our own team here. We've been able. I'm confident we can raise the funds. We'll raise the money to do the exploration program, and then when we get to engineering studies, I think at that point the engineering companies themselves will actually help fund it, because the more money you raise, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
And I think we can do a combination of debt at that time. And of course, we'll just look at the context of the market and see what's best. We're very keen, I think, to keep the company undiluted as much as possible, because we are, in turn, are large shareholders. I'm a very substantial shareholder of the company. We keep all our costs down. Our overhead costs, we don't pay executives big salaries. My salary is absolutely negligible. Our win is going to be from the stock appreciation, and so our interests are truly lined up with the interests of shareholders. And I think we're getting very close to getting to that point.
Great. And so just if you guys are sitting on 65%, there's another 35% floating. Is that mainly retail and Canadian retail, or have you got strategic?
It's all retail at this point. We haven't been approaching any institutional shareholders for the PEA. I think now that we've got the PEA out, we're beginning to both receive contact from certain institutions, and we're out there marketing and making them aware of what we have, because there are uranium funds and other institutions that are beginning to take positions in uranium as they can see that there's a forecast of a near-term increase in uranium valuation for uranium assets. So we're beginning to get on their radar map, and I think as that continues, I think we're going to begin to see our market get cleaned up and see better valuations for our company. I mean, our PEA indicates that our current deposit has a net present value of $135 million. US, in US funds, our company is valued at less than $15 million. So there's almost a tenfold disparity there, and I attribute a lot of that with not just being unknown at this point.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting, actually. So you think the institutional guys are starting to wake up to uranium again and understand the potential. Obviously, people are talking about the Section 232 in the States, and I think that will have benefit to the U.S. uranium producers. I can think of a couple at this point, but. Is that having much of an impact elsewhere? I mean, is that something which is, it's raising awareness in the market for companies like yourself?
Well, we're starting to see that. Just last week, I participated in a town hall where there was Rick Rule of Sprott Securities was talking about the price of uranium, and very much a believer, and some other smart people on there talking about taking a position in uranium now. So we're beginning to hear more about that and beginning to see that. There's a uranium fund, I think, that's getting listed in London, that's buying 10 or 20 million pounds of uranium and stockpiling it. So we're beginning to see these kinds of things happen right now. And so the uranium market is definitely on the move.
Just no one knows how quick it will move. It seems.
Well, that's $1 million question, isn't it?
Well, so you've got a district-wide asset. You're going to raise the cash to get you through to the end of the year. You think there's a kind of general movement in the marketplace, appreciation of that uranium is a sort of hot topic for 2019, and hopefully the price moves along with that. You've got an experienced team. You've been in the country for a long time. You know what you're doing. You know how to work. You know how to work there. But why should anyone care about Blue Sky versus the other uranium explorers? Whether it be Africa or elsewhere in the world. Why Blue Sky versus them?
I think Blue Sky has a much better opportunity here, not just for appreciation, because we've got the support of the government, and we can get permitted very quickly. We plan to be in production in the next 1.5 to 2 years. So this is something that will go into production very, very quickly relative to other markets. If you have a uranium discovery, whether it be in an African country or even in another country like Peru or Colombia, it'll take a long time to get permitted for production. Because the regulatory framework for nuclear industry just simply isn't there. Argentina has a need, and a domestic need, and in fact, we could begin to move to go into production now. But I think it's prudent to show that we've got some expansion potential, and then begin to going into the move towards production very quickly. Like we said earlier, those companies that are at very, very near production or at production are those that are going to get the best valuation. And I think we're very, very quickly positioning Blue Sky for that. And the best time to buy Blue Sky is not at the end of the year if the price of uranium has moved up. Now is a great time because it's undervalued, it's unknown. I think as the year goes by and our marketing activities pick up and the price of uranium picks up, Blue Sky will be on the go. So.
Well, there's a line that's often used. But explain to me why. So you say you're undervalued. In what context do you think you're undervalued?
Vis-a-vis the project where we have it at the stage that we're at. I mean, our PEA indicates $135 million value for that. Even if it was as a PEA, if you discount that by 50%, that still puts it at a $65 million valuation, and we're trading at $15 million. It's very low right now, and I think we do hope to change that very quickly as our marketing activities begin to pick up. Fantastic.
Okay, Nico, as first time meeting you and hearing the story about the company, that's great to hear what you're doing down there in Argentina. Fantastic that it's such a low-cost project. I mean, that's quite exciting for you, especially the uranium price as it is. I'd love to catch up with you in the next couple of months, see how things go as you go for the next the fundraise, and obviously moving into doing a bit more drilling and exploration. So do stay in touch, and thank you for today.
Great, thank you. Great meeting you as well.
Thank you very much for watching our video. We do aim to give you informed and intelligent information with which to make your investment decisions. So if you liked what you just saw, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see more insightful, in-depth, honest, and unbiased interviews, then please click the subscribe button. So thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.